All right, hello. So I'm going to walk you through how you would go ahead and make a catenary grid formation. This is really valuable if you're trying to do any type of a testing, and it's also pretty valuable if you are just trying to do kind of a general test to see what a catenary space would look like in a facility. So first you're going to go ahead and get the catenary component. So this is going to ask you for sets of points or individual points. I typically try and do it with sets of points because it's faster, and if you set it up correctly, you can have multiple different strands moving in different ways. So, for example, if we go and we set let's do 4 points for that component. And then we can do 4 additional points for this component. Let's try and make them equal. So those are going to start to register one another. So something else that comes into play here is that you have to have a number slider. And this is basically just going to determine how tall your catenary curves become. So if you want them to be very long or very short, this is where you do the analysis. So let's set these to a 4, so you can already see that those are starting to appear there, but right now they're curved downwards. So you do a vector, and you can basically set up the vector so that they're pointing upwards or downwards, and you obviously can reverse that if you need to, if you wanted them to be facing downwards so that they mimicked strings more directly. But I've found that this is a very, very helpful thing to do if you're trying to analyze vaults or really any kind of architectural style catenary spaces. So something else that I have experimented with for these that I find valuable is starting to work with these sets, but in multiple dimensions. So if you start to bring in a Z component, for example, you can copy these factors. So another number slider, and you can have multiple of these sets, one on top of the other. So right now that's set to 0, but if we change this, if it lets us change it, so these are some of the basic principles. That would make sense. But effectively what it allows you to do is test how these spaces would look. And for example, if I did not want this factor to be moving in the Z location, if I wanted it to be Y instead, and have it moving in that direction, left to right, or I could abut it in that direction and can have it right next to one another, but they will all adapt with this general form. So again, these are really great when you are trying to do a basic analysis of a roof structure or a vault or really anything that a catenary form would allow you to do. Anywhere that you assign these arrays of points, it will attach to. So if you wanted to have it set to the top of a series of posts and hanging down between the posts, you could create something to that effect. Or if you wanted to create a grid, actually, yeah, let's do that. So an array, you could do a rectangular array. So what this is going to ask for is typically a box or a series of points. I have in the past been able to get it to start to adapt to some other forms, but overall, this I've found is more efficient when you start to use it on a larger geometry. So you can already see that this starts to adapt. This geometry, for example, let's do a box. And it's going to ask us to set one or multiple boxes. And we are going to go ahead and just go in the overhead view and establish a box. It's going to be approximately that tall. So we've got an array. Now, if we move all of this, you can start to connect these components so that they're registering these larger bits, right? So that just attaches that geometry, that completely returns it to its original form. But yes, move. If you start to use these forms to develop the catenary in the beginning, this creates really kind of abstract creations that are less valuable in a technical sense and much more valuable in a early on kind of creative development process. So here, let's just do catenary. And I found sometimes that with these components, what becomes most interesting is just starting to attach the geometry and seeing what will develop for you.